Hey, I'm Dukes on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store, where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with something a little bit different. I got a donation deck list from Patreon That Maverick Joe wanting me to play a Legacy Jund League and see where Jund was, especially with cards like Urza's Saga, Questing Druid, kind of looking at ways to get value out of Jund or see where Jund is currently positioned. The deck does have a lot of history in Legacy. I remember playing in the early 2013s, 2014s against a very prominent local player, Tesh, on Legacy Jund, and as a Death in Texas player, was pretty scared, not just because it was Jatesh, but also because it was a deck that typically beat up on a lot of the fair decks. When I think of Jund, I definitely think of words like value, mid-range, 2-for-1, fair deck stomper, and obviously it's been a decade since then. So a lot has changed. A lot of tools have come to Jund, but also to other decks. And the classic 2-for-1 is a lot harder to get these days. So what I have here is 103 cards that I think could make it into a modern day Legacy Jund list. By doing this and getting these together, I actually looked at some other Jund lists that have been recently played. So a big shout out to Crucible of Words, who played a pretty sweet list with Questing Druid, which of course is a new card that is 2 mana for either a 1/1 creature that whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Questing Druid, or for 2 mana, at instant speed, you can use the Adventure side, which is exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until your next end step, you may play those cards, which is pretty sweet because you could be getting at least 3 cards out of this. The 2 cards from Seek the Beast, and then of course the Questing Druid itself. We also had RUG himself playing Jund, not just on Channel Fireball for content, but also within the Legacy mocks. So I don't think Reed would choose a deck like Jund, which obviously he's very well known for, but for a competitive event like the Legacy mocks, you really want to go with a competitive deck. And obviously here we have Reed picking a deck that he believed was there. This is another really cool take because I played a Green Suns package, obviously something that I love. Playing cards like Delighted Halfling, Ignoble Hierarch as early mana producers alongside Dryad Arbor. You do have a few one-off Green Suns targets like Scavenging Ooze and Collector Ouphe and Ramunap, which can be really good bears in certain matchups. And then of course having something like Grist or Undermountain Adventurer just has a really nice long game subtlety to it, which I think really plays into the whole Jund aspect of getting that ongoing value. So I really like that. We then also have, big shout out to Eternal Turtles, who did a podcast with Legacy All-Star and Magic All-Star, of course, RUG, talking about Jund. So I've kind of broken it up here. We have the classic mana base of Duels, Basics, and Fetches. We have the Saga with a small Saga package, the Wastelands, and then things like Bootjuka Bog and Grove of the Burnwillows, which go alongside Punishing Fire. We then have Elvish Reclaimer and Ignoble Hierarch as early threats or mana-producing creatures, and Thoughtseize, of course. I don't think there's a world where I see Jund these days without Thoughtseize. It's just one of those really key cards that when I think of the sort of early turns of Jund, you think of Thoughtseize into Goyf into Lily. You might think of Bolt into him, into Thoughtseize into Dark Confidant. I feel like Thoughtseize is a really key card. Alongside that discard, we also have cards like Hymn to Turak, which is really nice. And this sort of slot is where I kind of have my early 2-for-1s. So Hymn to Turak, essentially a 2-for-1. Orcish Bowmaster, usually a 2-for-1, with your opponent having to deal with both the Bowmaster and the token it creates. Dark Confidant and Sylvan Library, very similar, where you are usually taking life to gain additional cards, but they do need to untap, which in 2023 is a lot to ask for. So that's where Thoughtseize might help in clearing the way, or Orcish Bowmaster at getting rid of something like an opposing Bowmaster. We then have kind of the Green Suns package alongside Tarmogoyf. I still think Tarmogoyf is not the all-star it used to be, but I still think Tarmogoyf has a role in the legacy metagame. I'm not sure if it's Jund, but I think it could be Jund. But here we have a pretty small Green Suns package with, of course, Dryad Arbor, Scavenging Ooze, Outland Liberator, in case we want an artifact or enchantment removal piece, Ramunap Excavator, Endurance, which could be overkill when we do have Scavenging Ooze, Questing Beast, Undermountain Adventurer, and of course, Grist. Questing Beast is one that I haven't seen in too many decks. I might have a bias, and probably do have a bias, as I have really enjoyed having access to it in Maverick. But I think as another endgame, it could be good enough. But at the same time, in a deck with so much removal and interaction with opponents' hands, potentially Undermountain Adventurer is the key 4-drop here, because you have a lot of ways to protect the initiative, and you can, yeah, really make use of the extra mana as well, with potentially things like Green Suns or Questing Druid alike. We then have some of the core pieces of removal. Lightning Bolt is Lightning Bolt. There's not much more to say. I still think Punishing Fire is a great way to gain ongoing advantages with, yeah, removing multiple creatures with the same Punishing Fire, thanks to Grove of the Burnwillows. Abrupt Decay, we have seen an increase in the normal converted mana cost of a lot of threats. So Abrupt Decay not hitting things like Murktide or the Troll out of Scam or Grief itself is pretty tough. You can get stuck in moments where you have Decay in hand and you're just taking a beating from these large creatures. So I can see why the format has moved away from Abrupt Decay, especially since the printing of cards like Prismatic Ending. Trophy is one, however, that I have seen a lot of Jund players stick to. While it does give your opponent mana, it does hit everything. So we are talking kind of the Great Creator, we're talking big creatures. Trophy just kind of an all-star. If it really matters, maybe I'm okay with giving you a land off this, just because I don't have to deal with this threat anymore. And then Witherbloom Command. And Witherbloom Command might be one that I have to actually read out to you at home. So Witherbloom Command is a 2-mana sorcery for a black and a green. Choose 2. Target player mills 3 cards, then you return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's pretty cool, because there are some niche situations where targeting your opponent could make sense. Potentially a Doomsday player with a specific pile, or maybe wanting to get rid of a Terminus you've sniffed out that your opponent's going to draw in the next upkeep. But typically you're targeting yourself and then getting back a land that is either going to allow you to apply more pressure on the board or interact with your opponent through Grove or Wasteland or Saga. Destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent with value, mana value 2 or less. So this is things like Aether Vial, potentially a Sylvan Library, non-creature, non-land, so you do have to think about that, but you can choose 2. And the next one is target creature gets -3, -1 until end of turn. So being able to hit something like a Aether Vial and a Spirit of Labyrinth, or Aether Vial and a Goblin Lackey, for seeing goblins coming back, pretty potent there. And then the last one that's probably the least used, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So pretty much a very small tendrils. And then in this last column, I kind of have the endgame, or the way that we really make sure we're winning that mid game and getting value off everything we have. So first up is Questing Druid, which we went over before. Life from the Loam I think is quite nice in this deck, but potentially in a version with Green Suns for Ramunap, the Loams aren't needed. Fable of the Mirror Breaker I think is really key in this sort of deck, because it not only allows you to put pressure on the board in multiple facets that your opponent might not know how to answer. Do they go after the Fable? Do they go after the creature making the tokens? Do they even care about the creature or the Fable? The discard is also very relevant. And the discard I really like, because if you are in a situation where you've drawn Thoughtseize, but your opponent has no cards, or Hinder Turak, or you have Abrupt Decay in hand and your opponent has something like a Grief in play, this is a great way to discard those and hopefully draw into relevant spells. So I really like the looting effect of Fable in this sort of deck. I think you can really make sure that although this deck might have cards that are only good in the early game or only good against smaller creatures or threats, it allows you to hopefully get rid of those for more relevant key spells to put you back in a good position. Grist, I think, is... Honestly, Minsc got a lot of play and is seen as one of the best Planeswalkers right now in Legacy. I think Grist is very underrated for how good it is, especially as a Green Suns target, especially as a way to have some sort of reach at dealing with Planeswalkers if you are in a situation where you're not attacking with creatures. I think Grist is just a really nice card. I'm not sure if a deck ever needs 2, but I did put 2 here. And then, of course, Minsc and Boot. I think Minsc and Boot in this style of deck, where you have so many ways of clearing a board and clearing the hand before you get Minsc down, it's just a kind of no-brainer. So I think that Minsc in a Jund-style deck as the top line could be really nice. So, obviously we're at 103 cards, and we need to cut this down. I do also have a sideboard to go through, but we're going to go through some of the cards here that I like and don't like, and have a go at this. So first up, what are some of the heavy hitters, the cards that I think just should definitely be in here? I guess we'll start with the cards that I just think make Jund. And the first one is easily Thoughtseize. I think Thoughtseize is a great card right now. It can keep a lot of the namesake decks off from comboing. It gives you a lot of information about your future plays, potentially if you want to use a bolt on a creature or if you want to save it for a punishing fire, what your decay targets are hitting. Do you want to be Hymn to Turaking, or are you rather playing to the board with Sylvan Library or Dark Confidant? So I think Thoughtseize is a pretty easy one. I also really like Lightning Bolt. I think Lightning Bolt just being a 1 mana 3 damage spell is really nice, especially for reach. It can deal with early threats, early mana acceleration. Planeswalkers obviously going to the face as well, I think is pretty awesome. This is where it kind of gets tricky. I do like Minsc, and I do think Minsc should be at least a 2 of. I do really like Fable as well, and again, I think it should at least be a 2 of. Grist should at least be a 1 of. I think that's pretty key. The question is, do I want to go with the Green Suns package? Because if I'm going with the Green Suns package, I'm probably not going with all 4 Goyfs. I think with the way the creatures have adapted, Goyf is great at being pressure, but potentially to really keep Jund in the game against a lot of matchups these days, you need both pressure and disruption. So there's a lot of matchups where I can see Ooze being a bigger threat than Goyf, but also being pressure. The same with Questing Beast or Undermountain Adventurer, or even Ramunap, being a way to Wasteland lock people or even get back Saga against control decks. Ramunap can be really key in being both pressure and disruption. So I don't mind the Green Suns package because it also allows us to ramp, and I think mana acceleration is still one of those quote-unquote unfair things you can do in Legacy, and I think if Jund can make use of that, then that's fantastic. I also think it's worth probably having a card like Collector Ouphe in the main deck if we are going to run the Green Suns package, because you really want to have some sort of I win button against some of the decks that are running LEDs and Lotus Petals, or potentially 8-cast, just a way to really make sure you're shutting down their deck. I think I am going towards the Green Suns package. I think it's the Undermountain Adventurer I'll have over the Questing Beast. I don't want both. Potentially the extra Endurance. Endurance might just be a sideboard card, because we do have the Ooze. We potentially have the Bog. So that's definitely something to think about. But I definitely like these. I do like Punishing Fire. I usually like a 3-3 split with Grove and Punishing Fire. Because we have the bolts, I could see going down to 2, but I think we'll kind of keep an eye on the third one and see what we want to do there. Oof, Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay again, really solid card. It can just get rid of some pretty annoying early threats that you just want to get rid of. It's not great mana on mana these days when you're wanting to trade with a DRC. You're obviously, trading 2 mana for 1. But in saying that, it's hard for me to not have at least 1 or 2 copies in the deck. I obviously as well don't want to be too reactive with the deck either. I do want to have a good mix of applying pressure to the board, applying pressure to the opponent's hand, but not having a hand of just all reactive things. You want to have some sort of pressure on the board. So I think in that case, I'm pretty happy to look at something that's similar to this. 2 decays, a trophy, 2 Witherbloom. It could also be like 1 trophy, 1 decay, 2 Witherbloom. Potentially, as we cut this down further, I'll have a better understanding of kind of what's left. The questing druids are really cool. I really like seeing people try them out. I think it's better in a deck that doesn't have as many green spells. I think it's best in a deck where the only green spell is questing druid itself, because then potentially every other spell is actually boosting it up. So I think instead of questing druid, I'd rather try to keep my card advantage to things like Sylvan Library or Dark Confidant. So I think that's a pretty easy cut for now, along with these. The Loams, just because we have the Ramunap, I'm pretty happy to cut. The Ignoble Hierarchs are nice. I think especially with Exalted as well. And being able to power out things like Minsc and Brew potentially a turn or 2 earlier is very good. Reclaimer. Reclaimer is interesting because, sure, this deck could make it a 3-4 pretty easily. We do have some targets in things like Urza, Saga, Wasteland, and Bog. But I do feel like it's a little bit tough for us to just pass with mana open unless we have removal. But if we have removal, we're probably casting it at sorcery speed and just attacking with the Reclaimer. We obviously don't have anything like Flagstones either, or working towards a combo like Dark Depths. So although we do have Sagas, I could see the Reclaimers not being for this matchup either. Bowmaster is of course really nice. Like as a 4 of, I could definitely see that. Potentially the Hymns just aren't where we want to be. And instead of getting 2-for-1s by trading 1 card for 2 of our opponents, we want to be playing a card like Sylvan Library or Dark Confidant and getting multiple cards of those. So I could see a cut there. And then we have 79 cards. We have 30 lands. I'd be happy to go down to 25 lands potentially. I do like the double Bayou, double Taiga. Sorry, double Bayou, double Badlands, and a Taiga. I do like 1 of each basic. I don't think we need the Bog just because we don't have the Reclaimer anymore. We are playing 27. I could see us going down to potentially. We have the Groves. I don't mind the 4 Sagas just because we do have ways to accelerate and make sure we're always getting some, extra value out of the Sagas, but we're not fully a Saga deck. But I know that Joe is a fan of Saga, so I would like to keep Saga in potentially as a 3 of. That puts 25 lands with 3 Sagas and Wastelands, which I'm pretty happy about. And then if we cut the Goyfs, that actually is pretty much where we want to be. But just because I do like Goyf, I could see like the Punishing Fire coming out, and then potentially some amount of Dark Confidants. Witherbloom's good. I think we have enough answers to artifacts and enchantments that I don't actually need the Liberator. The Endurance. What if we just had the Witherblooms as removal? And now we're looking a little bit nicer. Maybe just the 1 library. Okay. We still have Grist. We still have the Fables, which are really nice. The Sagas. I still think the Sagas are fine. Going stuff looks quite good. We have a lot of removal here, which is nice. So let's have a quick look at this. So let's move our acceleration over here. We then have sort of our Thoughtseize package alongside some amount of card draw early on. We then have just classic removal in these. We're at 64. We are at 16 creatures. So Dark Confidant, being a 2/1, is a little bit rough in a world of Orcish Bowmaster. So is Library, but we do have a lot of ways to deal with opposing Bowmasters with things like Punishing Fire, Lightning Bolt, Witherbloom commands. So this could even be a world where we have the, maybe not even second Library, just because we have the Fables. Now we're looking at Thoughtseize, Bowmasters, Library to kind of break it up. 2 Punishing Fire and 4 Bolts, I think is fine. I think the Witherblooms are fine as well. The question might be, how am I dealing with a Troll? Which right now, the only way to deal with a Troll is Grist, I believe. Okay. Well, that makes me kind of want to play something like a... Snuff Out doesn't do it. Dismember's not the greatest, especially in a deck with Thoughtseize, Sylvan Library. A lot of ways to lose life. Do like the Shadowspear. Maybe it's a case of Goyf just being a Green Sun's target. For a matchup like even Delver, I don't mind having the Goyf, but you know, cutting the Goyf does make it 60, which is pretty interesting. But is not having an answer to Troll. Troll is a 6/5. There is Sheoldred's Edict, which I do have in the board as a bit of play. The issue is that with Sheoldred's Edict, they can definitely be in positions where they get to choose which creature to sacrifice, not just the Troll. They could have an Orcish Bowmaster in play, they could have a Death Shadow. So potentially, that's where something like Trophy comes in. So we'll put that on the back burner. Because right now, we have a sideboard to figure out. And what I have here are Combo Hate, Graveyard Hate, Blue Hate, Removal, and then Artifact and Enchantment Hate. And these are kind of the 5 different silos that I kind of like to think about when I'm building a sideboard. Is you have combo mid-range control, so you could have 5 cards for each. But then if you have control as both blue decks and also sort of like mid-rangey decks, you have combo decks as both graveyard and just really fast, kind of out of the gates. And then you do have artifact and enchantment decks, things like 8 cast, even lands to some extent. So I did look at a lot of sort of different lists for this, and these were kind of some of the cards that came up. I do really like for leagues having access to free spells, whether that's Leyline, whether that's Trap and Surgical, whether that's just Chalice on 0 for some matches. It could be really, really interesting to get a good mix there. The Duresses are probably a weak point that we could move. Let's move it like this. I really like the Leylines. In a Jund deck, I really like Leyline. I really like some number of blasts, some number of veils. I do like extra removal, probably in Edict. Engineer is interesting because we have the Orcish Bowmasters. We can start pinging stuff left, right, and center. Engineer is just nice to have potentially against some of those more tribal style decks, but I guess we also have Punishing Fire, so is that really needed? It could be a case of double Edict. Just because I know Joe was having issues with Maritlage specifically, having a way to make them sacrifice a token is really nice. As a non-blue player, I do like Choke. Chains was a thought with the Beanstalk decks and a way to try to get behind them, but they also actually have a lot of ways to answer Chains in most likely 4 binding and 4 prismatic endings, so maybe Chains isn't where I want to be. I do like Force of Vigor, and I do like the Ouphe. I think if anything, we should talk about Ouphe in the main deck. So here we're actually looking already at 14, which means when I'm looking at Artifact or Enchantment Haywire and Needle are interesting because they're Saga targets. Cast into the Fire I really like as well, just because it can be a 2-for-1 with dealing 1 damage to 2 X1 creatures, or exiling something like the One Ring is pretty key, especially in response to them tapping it. They won't get any cards off it because there will be no counters on the ring. But do I need it? That's the big question. I could see Choke being a one of. I do like Cast into the Fire. And then I actually think I just like an extra blast. I think that's how I'm going to build the sideboard. So we have sort of combo decks, the blue decks. We have some things for the more fair decks. We have obviously blue decks, artifacts, and enchantments covered. So I think this is okay. I wouldn't mind a deed in there somewhere, but really hard to figure out where to put it. Potentially this is like a 3 Leyline kind of build. Look, I don't mind trying that out. 6 and 8 is 14 plus 1 is 15. So let's take all this out. Down to 15. Okay. Now we're looking pretty nice. We have the Ouphe here. Because I feel like just with the Green Suns package, you do want to have, well, lack of a better word, a lot of Ouphe behind it. You want to have like a real card that's going to be like, that felt really good to get on the field. So I think we're starting to look pretty good. This is 61. Look, I could see this being just a 2 Saga deck as just a way to get it back. We do have Ramunap to get it back. We don't obviously need the Loam because of the Green Suns. Witherbloom is interesting as well. I'm going to quickly have a look at what the man himself, Reed, played. So he was sideboarding here, but he did have trophies. So let's have a quick look if they were main deck. They were. Okay. So I think it's safe to say, especially thinking about the troll aspect of the deck and having an out to something like that, I really like here having the trophies. Potentially not all Bowmasters. Especially without something like Cradle, there's no real way to make great use of it. But now we're looking like a pretty nice deck. This is 60 and this is 15. So here is the sideboard. And yeah, hopefully that was kind of a cool way to put together Jund. Obviously, I don't have too much experience with it. I did back in the day, but these days I haven't played too much. So Joe, I hope you're happy with this list. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how it goes and then potentially looking after the fact of how some of our choices went. I think it's really great as a player to think about, say with these ancient Assassin's trophies, you know, when we're casting it, think about, you know, would Decay be good here? Would it be better? Would it be worse? If Witherbloom was here, would it be better? Would it be worse? Would the getting back a land be great? You know, things like that. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. A big thank you to Joe for the donation deck list. And of course, if you like this content, definitely consider following the channel. Yeah, a big thank you, and we'll see you in round 1. Hey team, welcome back. I'm going to do a few test games just to see how the deck plays out. I think this hand is pretty great. We have access to turn 1 Dryad Arbor. Okay, well, we'll still go over the deck. This is a turn 1 Dryad Arbor off of Bayou into a turn 2 Grist. We also have Punishing Fire open with Grove of the Burnwillows, but sadly we wouldn't be able to go Badlands into Dryad Arbor and be able to play both the Grist or potentially play Punishing Fire and get it back off the Grove. We would need black off this, but also green to fetch for the Dryad Arbor, and then of course Dryad Arbor only taps for green, so we need black for the Grist, but I still think here I'd be happy to go Bayou into Green Suns and then see what our opponent's on. The only thing that's actually interesting there is that if we were up against a creature deck that was trying to build out mana early on, we would also have the line of Taiga into Dryad Arbor, and then we would be able to Punishing Fire and Wasteland in the same turn, which I think if I drew a land, I would be happy to do that, but just not yet. I feel like potentially having the Wasteland as a mana source for us would be better. But that's obviously pretty interesting. And then we have Scavenging Ooze as well, which is going to be great for a hand that really wants to move towards green sources. We have Dryad Arbor, Bayou, and of course the Grove. So yeah, I think overall this hand is pretty good. A little bit weak to potentially combo. Not too bad against control decks because of the Grist. Against any sort of fair deck, we're great with the Punishing Fire online, especially game 1. Yeah, I think this hand is actually a really nice one to open up to. Unfortunately, we won't get a game, but I'll see you in the next test game to see how we go. Hey team, we're going straight into a league. This is our opening hand in game 1 on the play. We don't have red mana for the Bolt, but otherwise I don't mind this hand. We have turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor to open up lines for turn 2, which could be Ooze, hold up a green source. It could be obviously Saga into Ooze. I think I'm actually pretty happy to keep this. We could also try to play turn 1 Guide into turn 2, get Ignoble Hierarch, which gives us red mana, but I think we have enough ways to draw into that mana. And even if we don't draw into red mana, we have a lot of things to do. So let's open up with the Bayou, and then it's Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. Which honestly, this opening could also put us on Elves. It could be Abzan, it could be Maverick. A lot of different decks right now are opening up with Dryad Arbor off a Bayou, which is quite nice for us. A little bit fair though. Just a Saga into a Candy Trail. Okay, I did not see this coming. When Candy Trail enters battlefield, scry 2. You can sacrifice it for 2, gain 3 life, and draw a card. Okay. Well, there's the red mana, which is nice. But I think at this point, I probably want to get the Saga online. And play out the Ooze. And then probably just get in for 1 here. I think that's better than opting for holding up the Scavenging Ooze. If this is something like 8 cast, Emery takes a whole turn to turn online, so I'm not too unhappy about that. Wasteland off the top is what we really want to hit. Delta makes me think this isn't going to be 8 cast. Okay, mono black. Ooh, okay. Maybe Sheoldred? Infernal Shooter. Ooh, okay. Maybe I should have... Maybe they're just going for an Ad-Nause here. Which we couldn't do too much about. They're playing Candy Trail though, which is interesting. It's going to be Beseech, to be fair. Yeah, I'm going to assume this is Beseech into something. Okay. Probably Ad-Nause, especially with 1 mana floating and the Lotus Petal there. Guys will... okay. Well, maybe like... Yeah, tough one. Definitely a tough one. The Candy Trail really put me on some sort of like 8 cast deck, but in hindsight. So here we are. We are looking at a Storm deck that is mono black. So I think for this sort of list, we can take out the Punishing Fires, probably the Fables. The Minscs aren't too bad. The Undermountain's not really where we want to be for this sort of matchup. Thoughtseize is great. Bolts, I don't mind, but I probably can cut on those. Bowmasters quite nice if they're drawing cards. Black. They're probably playing Opposition Agent. I do like the Veils. I do like the Force of Vigors. I don't mind the Leylines, to be fair. Do I really want anything else? Are they a ring deck? Probably, especially with Dark Ritual as well, but the Deed's also pretty interesting. But I think for now I'm happy just to see where this goes. Grist. Grist is a bit meh. Maybe I like the Cast Into the Fire over the Grist. Maybe I like, yeah. Maybe just because of opposition agent, I'm going to keep the bolt in and go with this 60. Okay. Here we have a hand that doesn't have access to Leyline, but we do have the mana to get there, which is nice. So I think I'm going to keep this. It is a bit of a 6, but we get to go Thoughtseize into hopefully Wasteland on their own Saga, potentially Wasteland again. We draw off Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, so if we lead on Verdant into Bayou, into Thoughtseize, into Green Suns, that allows us to maybe cast a 3 mana spell on turn 3. Pretty happy to keep this. Opponent's gone to 6. This is a 6 with the Shadowspear, so I'm happy to keep this as a 7, because then we just get an extra card in the Shadowspear. Alright. Play the Verdant. Let's go for a Bayou. Cast the Thoughtseize. Okay. Ponder, Infernal Tutor, LED. I think with this hand, I'm happy to take the Ponder, because it might also make them not lead on the island and potentially play one of these, which we can of course hit with Wasteland. So happy to take this. I really want to slow the game down just a little bit, or at least slow them down from winning off Infernal Tutor and Saga's quite nice. Okay. I think I want to move towards Green Suns for Collector Ouphe. So do we play the Saga out now? Probably not. It's probably play out the Taiga, and then next turn play out Saga Green Suns, and then just get some constructs off the Saga at least. So I like playing out the Taiga here, just to act like we have red mana open as well. Our opponent could be thinking of Orcish Bowmaster here as well. Ooh, okay. Guys will off the buy. Another Wasteland. Yeah, I'm happy to Saga here. Green Suns for Collector Ouphe, and then next turn we have hold up Saga with these 3 lands, and then just start Wastelanding our opponent. It does turn off the Shadowspear, but in my eyes, Shadowspear here is just going to be a kind of anthem effect for the constructs. Opponent could also just Beseech the Saga, potentially. That would put us up on mana. And then the Wasteland just goes after the Bayou. By playing the Saga this turn, we did turn on Beseech for Saga instead of just potentially playing a Wasteland. But I think getting the Collector Ouphe down and the Saga online in the same turn is really good for us. Opponent also thinking, which I don't like. Maybe they have like a line with Dark Ritual off the Bayou. They can't use the LED though, so that's pretty good for us. So thankfully, one great thing about the decks that I like to play is that what's this? I get to think a lot about my turn during their turn. Okay. They have 3 mana, but 2 cards in hand, being Infernal Tutor and oh, they get to, I guess now, tutor for the card they want. For 3 mana, what would they get? Maybe a removal spell? Just to turn on these? Okay. That is fine for me. Bowmaster's pretty good. Let's take out their black source here and then just hold up Saga. Also holding up Bowmaster here is quite relevant. This also turns on the ability for us to get Soul Guide Lantern, which is pretty great. It's pretty nice as well. I do want to make a construct here. Go and get Soul Guide. Let's take out their Infernal Tutor. Play a Wasteland. Take out their Saga. Attack for 3. Now we're in a really nice position. Ponder's going to be fine. I think Saga has already shown why it's so good in this style of deck, because you just get so much value off it. They chose to not shuffle. So I think here all we're doing is Wasteland on Beseech, attack with both, hold up Bowmaster, and upkeep Force on these 2. Yeah, and now with this on the stack, we can sack this and they get nothing back. Does this change anything? Now that we've seen more of the deck, does this change anything on how we want to board? I don't think cantrips are a reason to bring in the blast effects. The deed's obviously pretty interesting. Especially because, like, it does hit a few of our things, but not on 0. So taking out their constructs, their sagas, our sagas and constructs as well, but also LEDs, Lotus Petals, things like that is interesting, but maybe not enough. Maybe I will try it. I've been thinking about it all. I've been umming and ahhing, so let's see how this goes. A Leyline hand on the draw would be quite good. And this is a Leyline hand, but is it a trap? Let's have a look. Do we have a plan? And I would say, yes, we do. We have 2 mana with acceleration, we have Bowmaster for interaction, and we have Force Pitch Trophy if we really want to. So the key thing about this hand is A, yes, it has Leyline, but B, it actually also has a plan. So by keeping this hand, I'm going to be able to do things, which is fantastic. So we will go ahead and keep this, put the Leyline into play. Something like Saga into Artifact, I'd be happy to force that. There's Saga. And there's Artifact. I could also wait to potentially get something better than Candy Trail. Let's have a quick look. Scry 2, 1 top, 1 bottom. I guess I also get to draw here, and if I draw something like a Ignoble Hierarch that I might want to pitch more so than the trophy, we can also drop that as well. So okay, that actually changes things as well, because now we can just force pitch force. So let's play Verdant, fetch for a Bayou, and then go get Dryad Arbor. They could possibly be an Ancient Tomb deck, but I don't think they would be. I think I am pretty happy here just going for Force Pitch Force on here. So they can't like play a petal and then play a land and then have the ability to sack it. To make a construct, sorry. Wow, they have nothing. Okay. Okay. Let's have a quick think. Do we want to play the Verdant? Is there any reason to? Probably not. If anything, I want to keep this as a shuffle effect if we draw into our library. Pretty happy to play the Badlands, attack with the Dryad Arbor, and then just hold up Bowmaster. Which could really increase the clock if they do have something like Brainstorm off an island. There's a Mox, sure. Petal. Okay, so now they can turn the Mox on. I think I'm okay with this. I could try to destroy the Mox now, but then they just get to get a land anyway. So I don't think that's worth it. There's Brainstorm. So that's a fantastic out for us with this Orcish Bowmaster. This will never get old. I'm a big fan of the Bowmaster in response to Brainstorm. I'm sure there's some people who are a little bit maybe sick of it, but I'm a big fan. I always like getting some nice screenshots for my donators, so here we go. Okay. I will play a land and then attack with everything, holding up the trophy. Maybe there was a world where it's better to sack the trophy and get keep a Force of Vigor. That's pretty interesting. They have 4 cards. I wonder how many basics they play. Probably more than one. We have seen an island, so we know about island. I'm gonna fetch here. Well, now they might be out of basics. Songs of Creation isn't too bad here because we have the Ancient Tomb to hit it. So in response to Ritual here, let's go after Songs. I guess they also, like, the Orc would potentially kill them as well. So maybe I should have just thought about that a little bit more. But surely if they're going off with Orc in play, they had a way to deal with Orc. Okay. Luckily not, but let me know in the comments, what would you have done there? Would you have taken out the Songs and let them draw on a few cards? Or would you have taken it out there where they definitely would have gotten a sort of minimal value out of it? But hey, we're on the board. Took it pretty slow, which I like. Hopefully we can continue the win streak throughout this league. A big thank you to Joe again, and we'll see you in the next. Hey team, welcome back to Dix on Twitch. I'm going to play against the Yorion deck with a pretty slow hand, let's be honest. We have a turn 3 Grist, turn 4 Undermountain, with Saga in there as well. I think I'd be happy to mulligan this towards a lower to the ground hand. This is definitely lower to the ground. We have 4 lands. Sorry, we have 3 lands. Bolt with Punishing Fire and Minsc as payoff. Shadowspear, an easy card to put back here as well because of Saga. So pretty happy to keep this. Yeah, let's keep this, put back Shadowspear. I'm going to lead on the Verdant. I don't really want to get Wasteland at turn 1. but it does open up some interesting lines for what we want to fetch. Potentially not even Bayou, just because of Bolt turn 1. I hope we draw another fetch here, or just a card to play turn 2. I don't really want to play the Grove out, but I will play the Wasteland. I think the Grove's just a little bit too valuable. I'd rather throw the Wasteland into a Wasteland. Okay. Ooze is pretty interesting. I don't mind casting that. Just off a Taiga here. That means any land off the top allows us to cast Minsc, which is really nice. Opponent just lost connection to the game. Honestly, if this was the start, that opening hand wasn't too bad. Turn 3, Grist. Turn 4, Undermountain. I just felt like it was going to be Death and Taxes with the Yorion, and so I wanted to have something like Punishing Fire or Bolt in the opening. If not a Thoughtseize to maybe snipe a Vial and turn Wasteland on a little bit for us. But yeah, Taiga, play Ooze, probably tap off the Wasteland, hold up the Grove, which holds up both Scavenging Ooze, Eat, or Lightning Bolt. Stick also has a fair bit of lands, and I feel like in the last game, I don't think we flooded at any point. We got to maybe 4 lands, but I think that's fine. But yeah, it feels good playing Jund colors. I do miss Swords to Plowshares, but otherwise, I feel like we have a lot of solid removal in Jund. Even Minsc and Grist both being removal pieces is fantastic. Both being removal pieces in Planeswalkers that stick around after you remove something is even better. But yeah, I'd love to see more Jund around. It's very cool to see players like Reed really give it a good crack every now and then, and obviously enjoy playing the deck as well. I think it's a lot more of an enjoyable experience watching a player who enjoys a deck than just playing it for the sake of playing it. Opponent opting for the Khan's fetches as well. Interesting choice. Artist objective, that's okay. I do like the Onslaught ones, and I'm looking forward to seeing potentially if the Onslaught fetch lands will be in Modern Horizons 3. One thing I do find funny is just because of how old the client is, even with the computers we have these days, how many players still have issues with the program that is MTGO. It's pretty interesting. You wouldn't expect it as from an outsider. This kind of feels like a game that would be included in like Windows 98 in like the game setting. This is probably just going to be some sort of 3 or 4 color control deck with Yorion. Let's check on my opponent. Looks like they're having connectivity issues. You know about this, of course. You know what? I'll pause. I'll come back when it's done. Well, I had hope, but we are here, still at the same position, and unfortunately our opponent has disconnected, so game is we'll mark it up as a 1, but we'll see you in the next. Hey team, welcome back. We are on the play for game 3 with a pretty interesting one. 2 ways to accelerate, 2 hate bears that could be good, 2 wastelands. Honestly, I don't mind it. We don't have removal, but I think that's okay. We have 2 good cards against combo, and obviously just getting ahead on mana is also really nice here. So I'm happy to go for a Bayou here and kind of act like we might be on some sort of Fiend Artisan Elves deck. Really sad not to get that second game in. We'll see what happens here. Taiga, okay. Honestly, at this point, I don't think that Ouphe is going to be good against a Flooded Strand deck, so I'm happy to play it out. Play out another Ignoble Hierarch, and just hope it's not something like Fetch, Tundra, Brainstorm, Untap, Terminus. There's a fetch. Okay, Scrubland. Oh, okay, Soul Splash, yeah, it's nice. I was going to say, was I supposed to play Scavenging Ooze there? Bowmaster, okay. It's fine. Not too unhappy about that because it does make our Ooze only better. I'm going to attack first. Wasteland, the Scrubland, and then play the Ooze. This looks like a kind of Dead Guy Ale style list, which is pretty interesting. We haven't seen a third color yet. Alright. I'm a little bit scared of Stoneforge into Cauldra specifically. Samwise, okay. Get back the land. Not the draws we want. I'm happy to attack with both creatures here. We do have the Ignoble Hierarch to eat. Am I okay trading these 2 for the Ooze? Probably not. I think in that case I'm happy to attack with just the Collector Ouphe. It's legendary, it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Okay. Play the Foothills and pass. This allows us to hold up Dryad Arbor as well, which could potentially mean we can get this Ooze up to a 5/5. The Dryad Arbor does trade with a creature. So the ring says, your ring bearer, it's legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with power greater. So we can't currently block this, we have to get Dryad Arbor. There's the Marsh Flats from bottom. Kind of happy not to see Karakas, to be fair. Recruiter. Okay. What do you want to recruit? I've seen similar lists to this. Obviously a little bit like Black-White Taxes. Probably doesn't have the same sort of beats, but still pretty cool. Obviously a matchup where punishing fire would be really key. No attacks. Okay. In that case, we'll eat the Hierarch. I'll eat the sword. I will fetch here. Just to get probably another Bayou. Maybe another red source, actually. I do want to have the green sources online, though. Huh. Maybe it is Badlands. It just covers us pretty well. I could also get Dryad Arbor, which is a pretty easy one to attack with. It does open me up to another Bowmaster, though. There is a line where we could get Dryad Arbor, play Wasteland next turn if we draw nothing, attack with the Scavenging Ooze, thinking it's just a 3/3. They block with like a 1/1 and a 2/1, and then we Wasteland the Dryad Arbor and then eat it. It's not a great line, though. But maybe that's just where we want to be. I was going to say, we don't want to draw cards either with this Bowmaster in play. So I guess we attack with everything. And then see how they want to block. Okay. Does put a lot of creatures into the bin, which is nice. At this stage as well, I probably don't mind paying, I guess, 5 life with the Bowmaster in play, just to be able to get some extra cards in hand and get some sort of value going. I believe this version plays Ephemerate as well. So you have the Samwise to eat, at worst. They probably attack him with both, and then potentially flicker one. Potentially have like land, Flicker Wisp, and also Ephemerate. Solitude. Pitching the Flicker Wisp. Interesting. Wow, just holding up. Oh, they hit the black mana as well. We will pay here. Yeah, and I'm happy to... I guess we're only playing one land here. We are at 22, to be fair. I guess now we go to 12, that's fine. Pass back with Bowmaster. Really want to see them tap out. Just so they can't hold up some sort of way to keep the Bowmaster alive. But at least the Bowmaster gives us a good blocker for both the Bowmaster and the Recruiter. Agent. This might be a good chance. We know the last... No, actually, we don't know the last card because they exiled the Flicker Wisp. My question is, do we want to Bowmaster the Orcish here while it's tapped out or not? I feel like we just allow this. but I do feel like we want to hit the Bowmaster here, which is tough, but just because it means we also definitely get our token. It also means I believe Samwise can't get it back the same turn. That's pretty good. Take this. We do look. Yeah, it just lands. Tough. Okay. Fast into the fire seems pretty good here. Sheoldred's Edict doesn't seem too bad. The Ouphe can definitely come out. Deed's interesting, but a lot of the stuff is like 2 or 3 mana, so maybe not the Deed. Veils are interesting, but it only really hits. I don't think Veil's worth it. I do like Soul Guide. I do like Ooze. I do like Bolt and Thoughtseize. Fables. I could see Ramunap coming out and probably Undermountain Adventurer, just because they have a lot of basics, so that's not really a thing. And they have a lot of ways to get around us, so I don't think getting the initiative is great either. They do have a lot of cards as well, so I'm pretty happy to have the Thoughtseize. However, they are playing their own Wasteland, so potentially I just want the Ramunap for that. I could see the library coming out, but we also have so many ways to deal with Orcish Bowmaster post-board that maybe it's worth it. Maybe I'll just go down on a Hierarch. I don't mind this. Okay, pretty happy to keep this. Pretty happy here just to go Thoughtseize turn 1. Especially if they're a Vile deck, potentially. Grief, Lorwyn, Samwise. We don't care about the Lorwyn. Sam's kind of annoying. I think it's just the Sam because they can get back the Marsh Flats. The Grief we don't really care about. I'm pretty happy for them to 2-for-1 themselves if they really want to this early on. Lorne is a 2-1. Only hits Sylvan Library and Fable. Still pretty good, but see how this plans out. I guess if they drew like Reanimate, they can Marsh Flats into Scrubland, Reanimate Samwise, get back Marsh Flats, which is kind of cool. Okay. Play a fetch, play Ignobled. No real point in fetching just yet. Not too scared of Opposition Agent. I don't think they're going to be like a Dark Ritual deck, so can just hold the fetch for the Ramunap. Okay. I think at this moment, I like getting one of each dual land. potentially Ramunap this turn into Green Suns for Grist, even though we don't get value off Ramunap here straight away. I think it's worth trying to get it out this turn. Maybe they have Swords to Plowshares. Damn. So you get to Grief next turn. I guess we can go for Green Suns for Skoos to get a threat into play. But missing a land drop is a big one. I feel like my deck wants to hit lands a little bit more than them, especially with a lot of free ways to deal with things. I'm pretty happy to block here. If they have a... like, I'd rather them play something like an Outland Liberator. Sorry, another Orcish Bowmaster than a Lorwyn or Grief. Animate. Yikes. I think I just play this to get the Goblin Shaman, so that maybe I can start getting some value going. Then they get a Grief, which they can block with. It's a tough one, because like, I don't think it's worth bringing in, say, Leyline for. Like a non-token creature. I think here they can also lure one to make us each draw a card with the Bowmaster in play, which is pretty rough. I think it is just a Wisp, go to 4. Yeah. Too much value. Oh, alright, we'll see you in the next one. Hey team, welcome back. We have really interesting hand here. A little bit awkward with the mana. We have like turn 1 Badlands hold up Bolt, turn 2 Saga hold up Bowmaster, but then just a little bit tricky with these. I think there is a more, probably a 6 with just a better sort of opening plan. This is just a Wasteland hand. Okay, we're going to 5. Well, even worse. Okay. We will keep it. Bottom the Boo and probably the Fable. Oh, can't even Thoughtseize early on. Maybe there's a world where Thoughtseize is worth it. It might just be the Fable, to be fair. Happy to try to get some value out of the Saga. Okay. That's a start. A land would have been probably a little bit better, but you never know. Force in the bin. Look, we will try. Huh. Didn't expect that. At least if they have some sort of payoff here in Hooting or Murktide, we have the Assassin's Trophy, which, okay, Loam's pretty good. I will Thoughtseize them. Force Negation. If I take the Loam, does it slow them down? No. It's probably the Force Negation I take just because I'm a little bit weary of an actual threat. And I want these two to make sure they get through. But, okay. With the Loam against this sort of deck, I'm probably more happy to bring in the Leylines. Uro. Yikes. That's a bit of an issue. Okay. So we know about these. Let's put that over here. This here. Play a ton. I wonder if this Orc army could get big enough to actually block the Uro. Okay. That's a yikes. It's tough as well, because I guess if they had the Uro and we had the Thoughtseize, it's probably a similar spot here. Just don't have Bolt. That's all I hope. Okay. Ah, they dredge the draw so the Orc token doesn't get bigger. That's really interesting. I think we just concede this one, sadly. I think the Uro is just a little bit too good. But I like a lot of this stuff. Like the Blast, the Chokes, the Veils, the Pyroblasts. The Minscs I don't like. The Undermountain, the Fables, the Library, the Collector Ouphe. Thoughtseize is interesting, but potentially not where I want to be. I'd rather just have the Blasts. Try something like this. Yeah. Library is definitely an interesting one. But I do like Soul Guide and Shadowspear, just at like keeping the sagas as 4/4s or bigger. But no. Stick with this. Also nice to know what we're up against. Which looks to be RUG with no Delvers. Just playing DRCs, Uros, potentially Murktides. On the play. Hand isn't too bad. We have removal for a DRC, we have a Blast. That's pretty good. Ramunap's really nice here. Okay. I would assume if they're playing Uro, they're playing Stifles. Go and get Bayou. Play Ignobled. And then Wasteland them. Okay. Question is, do I want to play the Ramunap here? I kind of feel like I do. Although I'd love to play it and get back a land the same turn, I just don't really have that ability. Just hoping they don't have another Bolt. Okay. Not too bad as like We've already gotten rid of the Ramunap, so this isn't too big of a concern. Guess we play this out. They currently have instant land in the bin. So the Soul Guide does potentially turn on something. 2 lands. This one Punishing Fire could also be the reason to potentially crack the Soul Guide. Pretty happy just to go after it there while they're tapped out a little bit. Also, I don't want to put both Punishing Fires in the bin when they have the Soul Guide open. But I could see a world where the Punishing Fire is a little bit better to use there, just because the Bolt has a little bit more reach. Yes. Really need some sort of threat. Ooze would be great. A little bit reactive. And we talked about this in the deck tech, where this build could be a little bit too reactive, where we just don't have enough threats. There's an Uro. So to get the Uro back, I think here we just use the Sheoldred's Edict. Because at least the Trophy and Punishing, obviously Punishing Fire does nothing, but Trophy has a little bit more play to it. I don't think they would have Crackers, so I'm pretty happy just to allow them here. Ooh. I didn't think of this. Will they crack the Soul Guide? They will. Okay. Non-token. Okay. Come on, Ooze. Okay. I guess that's Ooze. I think here we just Green Suns for Scavenging Ooze. We know at least they have 2 Scalding Tarns in their hand and then 3 other cards. But I think Ooze here is fine. A little bit lost on mana, but what are we playing? Not 27. 25 lanes. I think 25 is fine. I wouldn't want to go to 26, but like a 4th land here is so good because it allows you to Green Suns for Ooze and also eat something. Most likely here the Uro, or potentially the Loam and then go after the Uro a following turn. We have the trophy for it as well. The little ooze that could. But yeah, potentially more early card draw. They hit a DRC, a Bolt, and a Ponder. Okay, that's pretty good for us. Here's Uro. Getting rid of creatures as well, which is smart. Oof. Yikes. Oh, but they can't draw it. Interesting. Oh, so close. Damn. I was thinking of like Shadowspear on the Skoos, and then also eat a creature. We don't, again, just like the 1 mana off. Brotherhood's End, Lightning Bolt. Eat the Uro. And then just pass back. I guess we could eat the Hydroblast. It's probably correct just to eat it. Now they do have the Seek the Beast, but nothing else going on, which is good. Okay. That's pretty nice. All right. That is our clock. We do also have the Grove get back Punishing Fire to keep as a consideration. Wow. Okay. Okay. A little bit of value going. Ooh. We'll use that on a following turn. I really just want to hold up Punishing Fire here and also just hold up Saga. That's pretty nice. I think it's just Brotherhood's End. They already have a Sanctuary, but maybe they can daze the Sanctuary and then put that back on top. So I think getting rid of it is fine. You can also draw a card off this, which is pretty cool. Murktide, not too much of an issue if it is a Murktide, just because we have Pyroblast to still draw into. If it is Murktide, then we can try to Punishing Fire the Questing Beast in response, so that they have to try to cast something else and something, 2 more spells to make Questing Druid a 3/3 before the Punishing Fire resolves. We have some bangers. Definitely can't be wrong about that. This is probably a matchup where Surgical is a little bit better than Leyline. Or Meltdown. In that case, I'm probably more so happier to just draw a card here. Okay. Okay. Let's try for choke. I feel like a lot of the cards in the hand are just lands. Nice. I should also Veil in response. Days. Okay. That's fair. So we're taking 8, going to 11, but we do have Punishing Fire and Trophy for the creatures on board, which is nice. Ponder. Okay. I think because of what we're just doing here, I'm happy to pass back to them, then upkeep, do some things. So upkeep, trophy this. And then fetch here. Badlands. Punishing Fire this. Okay. Actually, I shouldn't 6. I should return in response and then 6 just to save some time. A fetch land also turns on Dryad Arbor, which I believe we haven't played yet, because it was just in the deck when we fetched, which turns on Grist minus as a way to deal with a creature. Minsc. Wow, okay. That's a tough one. Yeah, we have to go. That's tough. Maybe I should have just played Punishing Fire upkeep, return Punishing Fire after they've chosen not to keep one around. Because now, yeah, like we have Grist. But that's not great. They could also like bolt or do something in response. Yeah. Tough. Yeah. That's it. All right, we're 2-2. We will see you in the next one. Hey team, up against Jake. Jeff, apologies. Pretty happy to keep this. Have a lot of removal, which is nice. Into Green Suns for Grist, if it's potentially a longer game, which I assume it will be. Wasteland passed, okay. Honestly, in that case, I'm probably happy to just attack with Ignoble here. And then try to Green Suns next turn for... The Wasteland makes me think that they have another land they want to play just to kind of use as a Lotus Petal effect. So I'm happy to see if we can try to get Grist down. Wow, okay. Okay. Happy to play the Grove and then hold the Bayou. I think here it's just going to be Ooze. Tough one though. 3 mana. Drop. Okay. I definitely meant to eat there. That was just a misplay. So hopefully this doesn't come down to 1 point. Guess we float red here. This feels like, okay. Potentially a loam? Murderous cut. Okay. Ramunap here would be pretty sweet. Ramunap get back Wasteland. Yeah. Sadly not just like, definitely not the Punishing Fire Bolt kind of matchup we wanted. I also don't want to trade the trophy with the Stalk. That just seems really poor. They've already drawn a card off this, and they're getting value from the trophy as well. No land, okay. Oh. Yeah. I think it's just a little bit too far behind with the Beanstalks. A little bit tough to catch up. I don't mind Leovold just because of the Beanstalks. They have so many cards that do pretty well. The Edicts are probably better than the Bolts. The Veils and Choke I don't mind. The Ouphe can come out. Probably Caesars, but Caesar's probably the best way to answer Beanstalk. Just because it does allow you to trade 1 for 1. Although you are using mana, of course, but... I think Punishing Fire is still okay. Honestly, it could be all bolts. Like Hooting Mandrills, Murktide. I still like the Ignobles just because they're early acceleration, but also allow us to get to Leyline faster if we don't have it in our opening hand. Undermountain, I think, is okay. I could see just a cut of like 1 Fable. And maybe 1 Ignobled. Not great, but it does have Bowmaster. Alright. This means he gets a Wasteland into Bowmaster, potentially. Okay. I'm just going to cast this now as well. I don't want them drawing into a card or being able to like potentially just cast a play lands and pass. And then brainstorm in response to Orcish. Can also hold up the Taiga here, which is nice. Honestly, I think I just get aggressive here and Punishing Fire them. That's pretty funny. All right, 5-turn clock. Really low to the ground. I don't want to see a fetch. I want to see an actual land. Seemed a little bit interesting with the Mystic Sanctuary start. Jeff is just going to restart from their end, just because they're lagging a little bit. But yeah, Mystic Sanctuary tapped makes me feel like they have another land they want to kind of Lotus Petal in the face of a Wasteland. But I feel okay here. I think the worst thing for us would be fetch land into Orcish Bowmaster on the creature we attack with Exalted. Because an opposing Bowmaster here is really good. What we want to see is obviously an actual dual land. Okay. Maybe they just didn't draw into the land there, which is really nice. A really aggressive start from us. Doesn't really change how we want to go about this game, so we'll just run it back. But I think that Leyline might just be a nice clean answer to Beanstalk, because everything other than Lorien Revealed and Force uses the graveyard. Huh. Okay. I don't actually mind this based off the Wastelands. We also have Acceleration. Choke's pretty funny. That actually might have made me go for Taiga into Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, but I guess we'll see. Okay. Chose not to shuffle. Okay, in this spot, I think now I'm happy to play Bayou into Dryad Arbor. And then if they have their Orcish, we have our Orcish. But if they force this, then I assume they're going to Wasteland us. Which isn't bad, because then we can have Wasteland on them. And we have 2 mana left over. Yeah, that's fine. This really makes me think they have a Wasteland here. Or at least are looking for a Wasteland. I mean, still, this is great for us. That is more than fine. A little bit afraid of like a Hooting Mandrills, but we'll see how that goes. Murktide, like a little bit of an issue here. But we do have blasts, we do have trophy, a few other things. Bayou, Badlands, Bowmaster. Potentially Saga into Choke next turn. Okay. Cool to see Witherbloom. Go after our red. Interesting. 3 cards in hand. Ooh, that's pretty big. Nice. Can we go choke next turn potentially? We'll see. I actually forgot about Sheoldred's Edict, so really nice to have that. All right. Oh my gosh. I think it's too good not to land choke here. And if they want to force over this, then we have the Sheoldred's Edict. I'd rather the choke go to a force than the Sheoldred's Edict, of course. Alright. Force pitch Leo. 1 card left. It's probably just going to be play Ignobled and then upkeep play Sheoldred's Edict. Just in case they have like a Orcish Bowmaster here, they don't. But now they do. Yeah. Yeah. Tough. Well, 2-3. Really, we can't really count the other wins. So really a 1-3-0. Overall, I felt like potentially the cards we can draw was tough. So like having more like library or maybe Bob. We did run into a lot of Bowmasters, so maybe Bob wouldn't have been better, but maybe another it's really tough because I'm trying to think of ways that Bowmaster doesn't impede our way to draw extra cards. Because obviously like it kills Bob, but then it also stops the library as well, which is tough. Saga didn't come up as a mana issue, which is great, and I think it was actually pretty good as just a way to keep some pressure on the board. If anything, I probably would have liked to have another card in here as just another way to find something, potentially even a Mox Diamond at times. It would have been nice to have, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, the trophies were pretty good, the edicts were good. Pretty happy with all of it, but obviously in that last match, like having the Leylines in either game 2 or 3 would have been pretty sweet, but we have yet to see if that kind of tech against the kind of like bug Beanstalk deck is good enough. But yeah, this is really cool to play. Really fun to play Jund again. A big thank you to Joe for sending through the thoughts, and obviously we're gonna go back and forth on what he had in store as well, and maybe some cards that he wanted to see being played in Jund too. But hey, if you want to get a donation deck list on the stream, definitely check out the Green Sun Zenith support page. You can find info about that in the description of this video below as well. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.